In this video, we will demonstrate how to install Darwino Studio on a new machine from scratch. The process is straightforward, but it does require you to have installed a few things before you get started. Here's the list. So before installing Darwino, we have to install the following software. First, a Java JDK. It's important that you download and install the latest JDK, not simply the JRE. This is because the JDK is required for Maven, which is the build tool for Darwino. Second, you need a local database. In this case, we're going to use Postgres 9.6.1, which will be used to store the Darwino data. Next, and this is a time-consuming process, you need to download and install the Android SDK. You can choose to download the entire Android Studio or just the SDK. Now, once you've installed either one of those, make sure that the Android 4.4.2 packages are installed, as API 19 is the minimum level that's supported by the Darwino sample applications. Finally, you need to download and unzip Tomcat and Eclipse. It's important that you download the Eclipse EE edition, as this allows you to launch Tomcat right from Eclipse. In this case, we've unzipped to a dedicated folder, but you can choose to do this where you need to. Now, at this point in the demo, we have simply unzipped Tomcat and Eclipse, but we have not launched or configured anything yet. Now, before you start the install process, you need to ensure that you are registered at the Darwino website. You must be registered there to download any Darwino software, even the Community Edition. Just go to www.darwino.com and register to get your username and password. Note, it might take up to 5 minutes after you create your username and password for the install process to recognize your username and password. Now that you've ensured that your prerequisite steps have been taken, we will launch Eclipse. As you can see, we are running the current version Neon 1. This is the first run of Eclipse, and it offers us a default workspace location. You can use this default or configure as you like. Now that Eclipse is launched, we need to install Darwino Studio. To install Darwino Studio, you go to the Help menu, choose Install New Software. Once the dialog box comes up, you need to point Eclipse to the Darwino Community Edition. The URL is shown here. We'll give you a second to copy it down. Now, if you're an enterprise customer, you can change the URL here as necessary. All supported URLs are documented at the Darwino website. Now, once you've pointed to the correct Darwino Studio URL, you can select Darwino Studio in the dialog box and click Next, Next, and accept the license agreement. Once you do this, click Finish. At this point, Eclipse will download all of the plugins from the Darwino website, and Eclipse will complain about some unsigned content, but this is correct. Just click OK. Now, if any time in this process you're prompted for your username and password, just enter your Darwino username and password. Once the packages are downloaded, you need to restart Eclipse. Once Eclipse is restarted, there are still several configuration steps necessary before you can run Darwino Studio and the Darwino sample applications. To complete these steps, go to the Window menu and choose Preferences. Once the Preferences dialog appears, you see that there is a Darwino Preferences section. Click on the drop-down next to Darwino, and then choose Validate Installation. The Validate Installation process shows that there are 5 current issues. We still need to install the Android and MOE iOS tools, and there are some configuration files missing. Let's start by fixing the configuration files. First, click on the missing Darwino Beans warning. The Darwino Beans file contains the configuration information necessary to access resources such as the Darwino database. Once you click on the warning, the Fix Issue button becomes clickable. When you click Fix Issue, the configuration file will be created with default settings. Do this for each of the 3 warnings. Now, don't worry about the new warnings that appear after you click the Maven warning. We'll fix that in a little while. Now, as you see, the 3 configuration files have now been created and are shown here on separate tabs. Let's first look at the Darwino Properties file. This file has a database connection configured with the default Postgres username and password. For our demo, we will leave this as is, but you will need to change as necessary to point to your database with your credentials. Darwino Beans has a connection to the Postgres server with the database name of DWOdemo. We will leave this as is, but before we get started with the Darwino sample applications, you'll need to go to the Postgres server and create a database with that name. Finally, the Maven settings file. This takes a few extra steps to complete the configuration. As you can see, there's already a pointer to the Darwino Maven repository and to the MOE plugin repository. However, down at the bottom, we need to configure your Darwino username and password to access the repository. Type in your username, that's fine, but we would have a security issue if we simply type in our password as plain text here. We should place an encrypted password here. To resolve this, go to maven.darwino.com and log in. Now click your username and go to your account options. Type in your password again, and you will see that an encrypted password has been generated. View the password and copy and paste it into the Maven settings.xml. Now when we return to the Darwino validation area in Preferences, we see that the Maven warnings are gone and we only have to deal with the Android SDK issues and MOE issues. First, we'll address the Android tools. As you can see when we click here, the validation points us to the Eclipse marketplace where we should search for and more. Let's do this. After searching for and more, the search results show us what we want. We click Install, then Confirm. The install process might take a few minutes. Just accept the terms and click Finish. And once the install is complete, you'll need to restart Eclipse. Now that Eclipse is restarted, we can confirm that the Android tools have been installed properly, because when we go to the Window Preferences dialog box, we see the Android preferences listed. And we can see that we have the Android 4.4.2 API 19 installed, and the SDK location is listed at the top. We're going to need that SDK information to fix our remaining issues, so let's copy that now. Now let's go back to the Darwino installation validation area. We need to populate the SDK path, so let's click on this issue and click Fix Issue. In this case, clicking Fix Issue doesn't automatically fix anything, but it opens the correct configuration file, and we can add the Android SDK path to the config file here. Make sure to save. Now when we go back to the Darwino installation validation area, we see that the last issue is to install the MOE tools. The solution is listed below. Let's copy that URL and then go to Help, Install New Software. We can paste the URL here and then install the MOE tools and restart Eclipse. Once Eclipse is restarted, go to the Darwino installation validation area one more time. As we can see, the errors are resolved and we're ready to go ahead and install the sample applications. But we'll do that in the next video.